What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the show, man. Recap with Mo, where we getting ready to get into a brand new episode breakdown of Tyler Perry's Ruthless. But before we get into this thing, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss shit that's going down, alright? So the episode we're getting ready to get into is for season 5, episode number 2, titled, y'all see what it is. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce what that is, right? But y'all see it. So the synopsis states, Ruth looks for a way to get the brainwashed children away from their dangerous new headmaster, Obadiah. Dikahn interferes in River's attempts to get back into the highest's good graces. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Alright, y'all, so we kicked this episode off exactly where we left off, up at the pavilion with all the Raku people in attendance, right? So in the previous episode, we were introduced to a new character by the name of Brother Obadiah. Now, Brother Obadiah is the new headmaster over the children. Now, the children had came up there in the previous episode, and they were chanting, "We are the new children of the paradise," or something like that. Now, Sister Alex, who's sitting over here on the side over here, noticed her daughter Olivia standing in that line. So she wanted to have a conversation with her. So she gets up and says, "Olivia, is that you, Olivia?" Now, Olivia, I know you hear me. You better answer when I say your name. Now, Olivia has been brainwashed, all right? So she's been trained not to respond to nobody except for the highest, I'm assuming, or the new headmaster, right? So anyhow, long story short, getting back to the story, she wants to go back and talk to the headmaster about this situation. Now, he tells her that she needs to sit down. You no longer have a child. That child belongs to the Raku, and she's not taking no for an answer, right? So by this time, the going back and forth has obviously gotten on the highest's nerves because he's like, "Obadiah, please take the kids up out of here, man." So, of course, Obadiah begins to, instruct the kids to leave, but Sister Alex is not having any of it. She falls down on her knees and begins to plead with the highest or with Obadiah. "Please, anybody that's listening, please allow me to have this chance or this opportunity to speak with my daughter." So now by this time, the highest has really had it. And I really don't know where to put him right now. I don't know if he's super angry. I don't know where he is right now. But he instructs Ruth, to get up to assist Sister Alex or whatnot. But Ruth is in the same boat. She's over here having a mental breakdown. She's not listening to the highest. The highest has to call her multiple times just to get her attention because she's thinking about her daughter's whereabouts as well. Where is she going? Why is she leaving? Why is she not staying here? But yet and still, I had to abide by this fool's rules right here. So anyhow, she gets up and she heads over to where Sister Alex is. Now, she tells her initially to get up. Now, Sister Alex refuses to get up. She says, "Nope, no way, no how." Now, of course, Ruth has to prove a point in front of the highest because everybody is watching, including Dikahn across the way. So, of course, he loves to put those hands on an individual when they acting a fool. So that's exactly what she does right here and now. And she forces Sister Alex to apologize to the highest to make sure that he knows and understands that she is with him. So now once Alex and Ruth are outside of the pavilion, Ruth tells her to calm down and listen. Now, she tells Alex that the children are at least here, so we know where they are, so that's a good thing. But Sister Alex is like, "But they've been brainwashed and whatnot." And Ruth tells her that she knows and that she's going to do everything within her power to get them away from Brother Obadiah, right? But in the meantime, I need you to keep your head down and keep your mouth shut. All right. So going on from there, we head back over to the pavilion where we see the highest delivering his message, right? And when we hear what this joker is talking about, it's the same old, same old. He's sitting over here. It's by faith. It's not by our numbers and all of that good stuff. And it's so comical that Sister Lacey is over here having a good old time. And I'm like, "Sister Lacey, are you all right? Did you take something along the way?" So, even Zane is like, she's a little concerned at this moment because she doesn't want to get in trouble because, Lacey's over here tweaking and whatnot. So she's telling her to calm down. Now, Lacey tells her that she can't contain herself. She's just laughing because she knows that what he's saying isn't true. But I'm also sitting over here on the side I don't know about that, Zane. I don't know. She might have picked up a little bit of something before she got over here to the pavilion because old girl ain't She ain't looking too good right now. And I'm like, Dad, you too fine to be tweaking like this. Like, that's a complete turn off. So I need you to get yourself together, all right? So anyhow, from there, I'm assuming it's the next morning due to what Brother Obadiah says. And we'll get into this. I don't want to move too fast, right? So anyhow, we see Sister Ruth walking towards, the area where the children are playing or whatnot near the playground. Now, as she's, watching them or whatnot, we see Brother Obadiah coming up from behind to pull her away from watching the children or whatnot. So when he turns her around, he asks her what could he assist her with. And she stops him by saying, Elder Ruth, the soon-to-be wife of the highest. So he looks her up and down and he was like, okay. But I also heard that you are also carrying his seed. And she was like, oh, you know a whole lot more than what you pretend to know. He was like, yeah, I study people. I'm a teacher. And I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. When that brother said that right there, I had to pause my TV. Because I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be a problem for Ruth. I said, look, we're no longer playing checkers at this moment. We're playing chess. Which brings me to this other point. I honestly think that Obadiah is going to be a thorn in her side. Think about it for a moment. Everything that she threw at him, he was able to pick up on and, pretty much fact check on immediate. So when she said, I always come up here, he checks her by saying, no, you don't. And she was like, well, how do you know that? He tells her that, first of all, you're a woman. So the highest is still going to expect for you to do your womanly duties. And I'm sitting over here like, oh, you ain't special? That's pretty much what he's conveying to Ruth. You're not special, my dear. As a matter of fact, as she's getting ready to walk away, he calls her out and he says, hey, enjoy the one you got left. And I'm like, oh. And he smiles and turns away and watches the kids from afar as she walks in the other direction. So I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm enjoying that little back and forth, that little battle that they're having right now. And I'm interested to see where that can go to, right? Maybe he will be an aid for her as well. Who knows, man? So anyhow, going on from there. Next, we head over to see the highest in his trailer, and we see him, pacing back and forth. Apparently, he's been up all night. He hasn't been able to rest because he feels like, his people are ungrateful. So as he's pacing the room, in walks Dikahn to check in on him, and he wants to know, was he able to get some rest last night, the previous night or whatnot? And of course, the highest is like, absolutely not. Long story short, the highest asked him, to make some of the magic for him. And of course, Dikahn is like, well, would that help you feel better? And he was like, yeah. So of course, he goes over there and sets it up for him or whatnot and does what he does while the highest prepares for the takeoff or whatnot. So anyhow, going on from there, we now head over to the sheriff's office where we see Aaron running through the doors. He wants answers and he wants them quickly. I want to know why I haven't heard anything from you. Why haven't y'all told me anything about my wife? Have you found her? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Before they can get into any of those questions or answers, they have to move him out of the way because they're bringing in keys at the same daggone time. So, of course, he wants to know who that is. Why is she here? What did she do? Whoop, whoop, whoop. Now, of course, Calder's like, look, we can't share that information with you, nor can we share any information pertaining to the case, all right? So, of course, Desiree is like, enough is enough, and she goes on and tells him the facts. She goes on to tell him that, unfortunately, there were some casualties, and he was like, all right, so what are you saying? And I'm sitting here like, bruh, you cannot be this dumb, all right? You cannot be this dense. But obviously you are, because she has to explain this to him. Eventually he figures it out, and she tells him that, hey, Laura was hit. We did not know who was good, who was bad. We were in the middle of a war. So the only thing that she can do at this moment is apologize, like she was doing her job to the best of her ability, all right? And Laura technically shouldn't have been there to begin with, if you want to be honest. Let's put it out there on the street. So anyhow, going on from there, we now head back over to the compound where we see these bodies laid out all in front of the highest's trailer. And we see Dikahn coming out of the trailer, to speak to the people or whatnot. So as he's coming out, he's noticing the bodies, but, right now he needs to speak to the people, and he conveys to them that today was embarrassing. The way that we handled this situation was bad, and we can never allow this situation to ever happen again, right? So he tells them that they're all going to have to work together. They're going to have to stand up and do things that they were not doing before. Specifically right now, we're going to have to move these bodies from the front of the trailer so the highest doesn't see this. He does not want the highest to see these bodies laid out. So he conveys to the soldiers to move them to the back. Now, there's a soldier over here by the name of Little Sammy. Little Sammy, he a little twisting in the stomach right now. He can't take the smell of blood. And I'm like, bro, I don't blame you. My cousin was trying to get me to go to nursing school, and I was like, absolutely not. Not for me. No, sir. I said, you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses. And Brother Sammy actually knows what that is. And he tells Dikahn, look, man, I can't do it. Nope, not going to do it. Now, as Dikahn is going in on him, there's somebody off to the side by the name of Brother Manny that is willing to do it. Now, Brother Manny, I don't know what to think about this brother. I mean, in 1 minute, you with George and Lewis. The next minute, you got, the boom pow poured out on him. I'm just not sure. And then I'm also sitting over here like, bro, you better be careful dealing with Dikahn, because you might end up with something else. You already had an issue in the front. And then it's crazy because at the same time, Peter is standing over there as well. And he offers to, move the bodies as well. Now, of course, Dikahn is like, Peter, where have you been? Because Peter was initially locked up in the previous season. Then he got away, all that stuff. Woo, woo, woo. Now, Peter tells him that he was in the woods because he was afraid of being punished. So he was like, oh, you ran? And he was like, yeah, I was just trying to figure out. I was waiting for the opportunity, to, do something for the highest. And the opportunity presented itself. So, of course, Dikahn is sitting there like, okay, tell me what went down. Like, what happened? And Peter goes on to tell him that he unalived a traitor. So I'm sitting over here like, hold on, wait a minute. Stop, reverse, go back, don't collect $200. Who was the traitor, right? And I'm sitting here thinking, and all of this time, I never thought about Bridget, because I'm sitting over here like, who did he hit? But she was the only one at the end of the episode that got hit for real. So I was like, it had to be Bridget. So I was like, oh, it was you. Or was it? Because the way he replied, like, yes. I was like, I don't know about that. Yes, that didn't sound too convincing for me. But anyhow, Dikahn tells him that he is forgiven. I was like, what? You're the highest now? You able to forgive people? I don't know where this is going. Like, is he... And how would the highest feel if he knew you were just all willy-nilly forgiving people? All right? So anyhow, going on from there, over at the well, we see Zane pouring some water into a bucket when she sees River passing through. So she calls him over to, find out a little bit of intel on what's going down around the compound. She asked if he had seen Lacey. River tells her that, she should be in the kitchen or whatnot. Now, Zane tells him that, no, she's not there. I've already checked or whatnot. And she goes on to tell him that she's a little concerned about her friend Lacey. She feels like she's losing it. She's losing her marbles right now. And River goes on to tell her, like, I can understand it because we were so close to getting away from this place, but now we're back in this hellhole once again. And the great thing for you is you came in with Ruth, but we came in with Manny. And she was like, what? He was like, yeah. So she was like, do you feel like he's going to snitch? He was like, most definitely. And I was sitting there like, no, I don't think, Manny would snitch on him or whatnot. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know. The way he been playing right now, there's no telling what that brother got up his sleeve or whatnot. But anyhow, going on from there, River wants to know, the health status on Joan or whatnot. Now, Zane conveys to him that she's not getting better. Actually, she's in and out of consciousness. And she honestly believes that, the wound is infected. And he was like, why? Like, what happened? She goes on to tell this man that the elder mother was trying to heal the wound with dirt. And I was like, hold on, this was a whole nurse. Like, what? I said, there's no way. No way in the world that she was using dirt on this woman's cuts, trying to heal her. But that's the elder mother, man. Anyhow, going on from there, we next head over to the highest's trailer where we see Sister Ruth is on her way to go holler at the highest for just a quick moment. But Brother Peter is doing his job and doing it too daggone much. You're doing a little bit too much right now, Brother Peter. And Sister Ruth is here for the business because she was like, okay, look, you needs to move. He's asking her, has she been approved to come in there? And she was like, hold on, approval? I'm engaged to be married to this man. And you're talking about, do I have approval? And he's like, well, Dikahn said. And so like, Dikahn, man, move. So while they going back and forth, here comes the highest coming out the door. Now, the highest is like, Ruth. And she was like, yes, your highest. And he goes on to tell her that he was just thinking about her because he just got finished having a conversation with Brother Obadiah about her being up there at the playground. So would you want to share anything about that with me? And she was like, let me think on that for a moment. And she was like, yes, I would. And he was like, okay, go ahead and share. And she tells him that she had to see how it was done. And he was like, see what? I just had to see it, your highest. He was like, see what? And she was like, I just needed to see how he was doing it. Like, the kids are so different. They're so obedient. They're not fussing. They're not fighting. I just had to see it for myself. And it was like, really? And I was like, boy, I said this fool. Man, Obadiah is the only one seeing through Ruth right now. And maybe the reason why he's able to see through her is because he ain't been in. Oh, let me leave that alone. Let me leave that alone. So anyhow, going on from there, it just seems like all the men that are crazy, she been with. I'm just saying. Maybe she got some of that Baidu. I'm just saying, moving on from there, man. So after hearing this from Ruth, he was like, so you want to see? She was like, yes. And he was like, well, just follow me. So she got nervous real quick. Did you notice that? She was like, where we going, your highest? Because the way he was looking at her was like, no, I don't believe you. So he was like, just follow me. So they head over to the punishment trailer where George and Lewis are still up in there. And you hear the highest's voice whispering. And he was like, you want to know how I do it? This is how we do it. So you hear the highest over here talking about,
yes, I'm with you. I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
I say, get me up out of here, right? But that's not the end of it. Because Brother Lewis over here wants to know why they're having to be punished and Sister Ruth isn't being punished because they were all in this together. But the highest responds by telling him that Ruth doesn't need to be, reprogrammed or anything. So he was like, okay, so why are we going through this? Why don't you just unalive us or whatnot? Well, he tells them that unfortunately for them, we need y'all. So what that means, we're going to have to reprogram y'all for y'all to get on the straight and narrow. All right, because we need y'all here and we need you in the flesh. So anyhow, going on from there, this brother wants to take it up a step because he feels like the punishment isn't good enough. So the highest pulls out this CD, puts it on. Immediately, Lewis is screaming. He was like, oh no, like, what are we doing, your highest? So the highest conveys to them both that this song is about a sinner, and he wants them to know that they are sinners against the Raku. And not only them, but he plays it for the whole daggone compound. Now, long story short, eventually Ruth convinces him to come up out of the punishment trailer, cut it off the compound because the whole compound does not need to suffer. We have not sinned against you. We are the lovers of the Raku. We love you the highest. So please don't punish us with this Mozart, all right? So, of course, he decides to turn it off and whatnot and put back on his cassette tape due to the words of Ruth, who reminded him to make sure that he put that back in there to punish George and Lewis. So, of course, when she says that, Lewis looks at her like, you for real? But I'm sitting here like, Ruth got to play the part, bro. She got to do what she got to do. So the way that she was able to get the highest out of the trailer, she tells him that his people needs him. And the people who need him are laid back in the back of the compound. And they don't deserve to listen to this Mozart that you're playing right now. He was like, what people are you talking about? So she goes on to tell him that there are some people that they had laying in front of your trailer that they moved to the back. They're no longer with us, or some of them are ill, but they need you right now. So he was like, well, take me to them. So they head over there to that side. So from there, we head back over to the highest's trailer where we see Peter and River. Now, River has made his way over there to the trailer so he can talk to the highest, so he can get on his good side before Manny shares any information with him or whatnot, if he does. He wants to be on the good side of this thing, right? So anyhow, from there, Peter doesn't want to talk to him. He don't want to see him. He doesn't want him to be around. As a matter of fact, he tells him to stay away from the highest. So as they going back and forth now, here comes Dikahn and Manny. So Dikahn wants to know what's going on. So after about 2 or 3 seconds of silence, here comes Peter conveying to Dikahn that River was trying to force his way into the highest's trailer or whatnot, lying his butt off, right? So Dikahn doesn't care if it's the truth or not. He was like, oh, really? All right, we'll take care of that from here. So Peter leaves and leaves River right there to defend for himself. So River's like, for real? Like, for real, y'all gonna believe that? He has a whole boom pow right there. But you already know Dikahn ain't trying to hear it. He don't like nothing about River. So he wants to know, all right, where were you the night that the highest was kidnapped or whatnot? And River goes on to tell him that he hid. He was afraid. He was in the woods. And he was like, hold on, wait a minute. The highest was kidnapped. And instead of you going out there fighting like a man, you were out there shaking in your boots or whatnot in the woods. So after hearing that, River wants to respond, but before he can respond, here comes Manny to, back him up or whatnot. And I'm sitting here like, man, kudos to you, but I still don't trust you because I don't know where you are. Which way is up? Which way is up, daggone it? But he goes on to tell Dikahn that he believes him because he found him and Joan in the woods, and obviously he came out there to assist her who was trapped in the bear trap or whatnot. And of course Dikahn is like, okay, are you sure? He was like, yes. So of course, I guess he decided to leave it alone at that point, right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the sheriff's office where we see Keys is in her cell when Desiree and Cal come in to speak with her or whatnot. Now, of course, for some daggone reason, Cal never wants to have a conversation with a convent. He doesn't want to talk to any of them, right? But Desiree is the one that tells Cal that we need her. We need her to talk. We need that testimony because this right here just isn't about Tyrone. Like, we can get to the highest, but obviously there's a third party included in this situation as well, speaking of the cartel. So she knows the severity of this situation. Cal is just thinking on one level with this. She's trying to solve it, but she's also looking at it from the top down, right? So anyhow, going on from there, we head back over to the compound where we see Ruth and the highest walking throughout the bodies that were laid out in the back that were lost to war. So of course he finally admits that he's made a mistake, but then Ruth's sitting over here talking about, but you don't make any mistakes, your highest. And of course he feeds back into it like, you're right. Yeah, I don't make any mistakes. And I'm sitting over here like, so anyhow, while they're back there, he's so saddened by this situation. And she's trying to find out, a little bit more information on Obadiah. So as he's beginning to talk a little bit about Obadiah, loving him and how deep their relationship is and all of that good stuff, here comes Sister Mary, informing the highest that her sister was hit by a bullet and she wanted to see if this brother could heal her sister. And of course, Ruth is sitting there like, girl, nah. Not today. So then she tries to jump in and tell Sister Mary that the highest doesn't have time to deal with all of that right now because he got so much other stuff to deal with. So of course he was like, hold on, wait a minute. Ruth, don't you ever come between me and my people. And she was like, yes, your highest. So anyhow, long story short, this brother tells Sister Mary to bring her sister over there to the pavilion. So we end back up on this daggone pavilion, and this brother is about to heal this woman. So anyhow, as we get back over to the pavilion, we see all of these people lined up there and everything surrounding. And we see, Mary's sister being brought up there off the steps or whatnot. And then we see the highest being carried in his royal chair or whatnot from the doorstep to the ground. And I'm like, bro, you could have walked that. Like, what you doing? So anyhow, they bring the woman up there. And of course, Dikahn is like, what in the heck is going on? So he immediately goes over to Ruth to figure out what's going on. She tells him that, it's my fault. I took the highest back there to the back or whatnot to see the bodies or whatnot. And while we were back there was a woman by the name of Sister Mary that came up and pretty much prompted, all of this to go down. And of course, Dikahn wants to know, why did she decide to take him back there? There was a reason why we moved the bodies to the back, because he's not stable. So if he decides to try to heal this woman and he's not able to, he's going to flip. So now Ruth's sitting over here talking about, what should I do? What should I do? He was like, well, you already created this problem, then you finish this problem. So she runs over there and tries to, whisper to the highest, talking about, oh, this woman is already, wrong. He was like, oh, you don't believe in me. he shoves her to the side and stretches his hands out talking about the Raku and start putting his hands over her and whatnot. And she begins to scream. And I was like, oh, is he really the Raku? Like, does he got power like that? So then I was like, let me see it again and I believe it. He put his hands out again and he started talking that gibberish. And all of a sudden she screamed again. Yeah! I was like, oh. I said, he doing something. But there was a helicopter that came about. How did that helicopter come to be? It was because of Desiree and Kyle. Now, Desiree had already agreed that she was going to be the one to sacrifice herself, go over here, meet up with the highest and all these people and whatnot, check in on the kids and all of that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Now, Kyle didn't like how it sounded, so he decided to call somebody to see if he could get a favor. So now, after Desiree hears the helicopter, she immediately calls Kyle talking about who made this authorization for this helicopter or whatnot. And of course, he was like, it was me, because I'm just looking out for you or whatnot. And I said, no, that's another one right there with that Badu. Like, if he responded like that, like he got to send a helicopter. I said, oh, she got that Badu for real. So anyhow, she was like, look, I hope you ain't unalived a whole bunch of children. Like, I hope that's not the case. Because when we head back over to the compound, they out here getting cups together. I was like, man, y'all about to drink it up. Y'all about to take shots today. And the elder mother in there with that little gold cup talking about, ooh, he gonna be so happy. And I'm sitting over here like, what can be so happy about this situation? Y'all about to get rid of everybody? Everybody, elder mother? And then I heard it. And I know y'all sitting there like, what did you hear? I said, I heard the Raku. The Raku told me not today. And we'll talk about that in episode number 3. Holla at y'all soon, man. Thank y'all for checking out the episode. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss shit snit that's going down right here. Be on the lookout for 2 new shows coming to this platform. I took the weekend to review, recap, and record these episodes, so they will all be dropping this week, along with a few others. So be on the lookout for all of that, man. Appreciate y'all. Until next time, peace.